It's me again. I just thought that I should make a second video because my first video, it seems a lot of people are sort of taking it a little bit in the way wasn't intended to be, but then maybe I just need to clarify it a bit. I noticed that a lot of people are saying things like, I don't care about Paint Booth. I don't even use it, don't know how to make cars, I could care less. All that's important is the AI. Fix that, and everything's great. And to an extent, that is the most important part of the game. The AI, how they race you, those kind of things, that's what makes the game fun. But the reason that I was harping a lot on the other stuff is because it is important. And trust me when I tell you, you're not going to know how important it is until you actually get this game and none of this stuff is in it. And I'm going to explain why. In my opinion, of course, the AI was the worst part of the Eutechnics games that we got. And that has to be addressed, first and foremost. So we're in agreement there. Now, DMI, the people behind it, yes, we all agree that they do have a pedigree of making decent NASCAR games, but the thing that I don't understand is people act as if they were making games just a couple years ago. The last time they made a NASCAR product was about 15 years ago. That's a long, long time. You can't just expect these guys to come right back and it's like, okay, they made a great game almost 15 years ago on consoles that are 2 generations ago, not just the last one, but 2 generations ago, and expect them to just come back and be like, boom, step right back into everything and everything's going to be great. To me, that's unrealistic. So yes, these guys, I do believe they want to make a great game. They're fans just like us. That we can all agree on. But their heart may be in it, but we don't know what resources they really have, how much money they have. All of this stuff, it matters. But there are a few things about this game that they've already acknowledged that I don't think people are taking it at face value. They're telling you that the extra the Truck Series, Xfinity, and the Paint Booth is going to be something that we're looking to add that in future games. And what I see people saying to me or just commenting on all over the internet is, they're probably going to add this stuff as a patch or an update. And my thing is, what makes you think that? You're just assuming they're going to... First of all, it takes resources, time, money, and manpower working on this stuff to make it happen. What makes anybody think that they're going to add this stuff as a patch or an update? They're not going to invest resources into something that they can't monetize. Okay? And they said this stuff is going to be something they're working on for future games. That's pretty clear. I'm taking them at their word. Plus common sense. These game developers don't do anything for free. The only thing is fixing problems and glitches. But they're obligated to do that. Although there used to be a time that a game was not released until it passed certain level of quality control. Now, with the advent of the internet, they can update stuff after selling it, which makes developers, in my opinion, lazy, and they're willing to sell you something that's subpar because they're like, you know what, we can fix that later with a patch. And a lot of times, these games never get fixed to a satisfactory level. But people keep giving these game developers all, the benefit of the doubt. And I've been burned too many times. Eutechnics, every year it was the same thing you saw with people on the forums. Oh, it was just their first game. The next game will be better. You can't expect a certain level of quality the first time out. The gaming industry is the only industry I've ever seen in the capitalist world we live in where consumers constantly make excuses for the corporations or companies that sell you a product. You don't see that in any other industry. If you buy a car and it's not, it's subpar quality, you're gonna complain. You're not gonna say, well, you know what, next year's model is gonna be better. They'll fix those things, and I'll just go buy next year's model. I'll trade this model. You don't do that. You paid for this car. It should meet a certain level of quality. And why do we do that as game consumers in the gaming industry? Why do we do that? We're giving them license to be lazy or to not give a shit. They're not going to sell this game for $15 or $20. If they did that, I would say, you know what? It's a glorified demo. It doesn't have all these things in it that we've come to expect from many years ago that we used to get. For some reason, we can't get a paint booth. And now we're like making excuses like, well, you know, they'll add it later, or I don't care about paint booth. I don't understand that frame of mind. I do understand people that say I don't really use paint booth. It's hard for me to make my own scheme, or I just don't care about it, and that's fine. It's fair. I'm not gonna, tell somebody what they should care about. But just because you don't care about that particular aspect of the game doesn't mean you shouldn't stop and say, let me try to put myself in consumers' shoes. Are they being reasonable or not? When it comes to trucks and Infinity Series, I'm kind of okay with them not adding it yet. I'm okay with it because I don't believe that that's going to ruin my experience. If I can race in Cup and be immersed in the experience, I'm not going to miss the truck and the Infinity as much as I miss Paint Booth. And I'm going to explain why. The reason Paint Booth is so important is because it's one of those things that are fans have a close attachment to when it comes to NASCAR. If you're a NASCAR fan, you know or you have an attachment to certain paint schemes, whether it's your favorite driver or just a sponsor you like. Sponsors are huge when it comes to the sport of NASCAR. It doesn't really matter in other sports, but NASCAR is a bit different. You can't take that away from people because it's one of the few things that offers you a sense of customization, which makes the experience personal to you. Running your own team, making your own paint schemes, getting sponsorship, earning it. That's part of the NASCAR experience, and you don't have that. How can you feel immersed in the career mode? To me, what it sounds like, and I could be wrong, but I'm taking what we know so far, and I'm just adding logic to it. You can't create your own cars. You're going to be pretty much driving someone else's car. So if your favorite driver, like me, is Jamie McMurray, you're not going to feel super immersed in the career mode. At best, it's going to be like a guy that's subbing for a driver who's hurt. You're just driving someone else's car. Yes, you're racing the car, and that's part of the experience, but you don't feel invested as a driver that you are part of this team. You're just there driving someone else's car. That is a detachment from the immersion of a career mode. One of the big problems I had with all of you Technics games, the immersion wasn't there. Even though there was a paint booth, there were other things missing. It'd be nice if you could customize your own fire suit. So just like you can make your own paint scheme, you could make your own fire suit to match the paint schemes you create for your cars. It doesn't seem like a big deal to some people, but trust me, it adds to the immersion. It makes you feel like, yes, I am actually somebody that exists, and I am part of this NASCAR world, trying to secure sponsorship, trying to build a race team that succeed. Career building is a huge part of all sports games, not just NASCAR. Any any legitimate sports title in the past 15 years has a deep and immersive career mode where you customize your own player and you guide them through your own custom tailored career. And a lot of that, it's just the more you can add to customization, the better it makes the career mode. I love that kind of immersion, and that's what's been missing from all of Utechnics games. The other thing that Utechnics did that was unbelievable to me, one of the things that I used to kill them for, every one of their games, the lack of statistics. Their statistics were bare bones basic. There's no excuse for any sports game in the modern day era that doesn't come with a full, robust, deep statistical compilation of all your accomplishments and how they stack up against real world statistics. So let's say if you pass Dale Earnhardt's career wins, the game lets you know this. These are things that are vital. Anyone who's played any of the NBA 2K games, which to me are the best sports titles, bar none. And I'm not a big basketball fan, but you get fully sucked into the game because you are part of the game. You build your own character. They even have that webcam where you can actually face scan your image to your player that you custom made. And you, as you progress through the game, you can improve your skills. You deal with sponsors. You get commercials. There's news articles about you. These things are immersive. And it helps tie you into the career mode. Without these things, you're just in there playing the game. Actually, the gameplay is only part of the experience. So jumping into Jamie McMurray's car and driving it for a season, yes, the actual racing may be fun, but it just feels like you're there to fill a spot for an injured driver, or you didn't build this team, you didn't build this career. There's no sense of accomplishment, and you don't feel like you're part of the team, a part of an organization, part of the sport. That's why these things are so important to me. It's why I talk so much about it, because I know how great it can be when a game does it right. And that's why, for me, the Thunder Series 2003 and 4 and 5 were the last great NASCAR games. NASCAR Heat was a great game. But I remember games, you even had a trophy room where each race you won had a specific trophy. You knew all your accomplishments year by year, career totals in wins, top 5s, top 10s, DNFs. And the numbers matter. Statistics are very important in the world of sports. So these things add to the immersion, and these are the things we haven't received. We never got it from Utechnics. So these guys, I'm expecting more from them because of their pedigree. But again, that was 15 years ago, and already they're saying no paint booth, no trucks in Infinity Series, even though, like I said, that's not as important to me. But these things matter. And at best, if they get the AI and the racing to be an amazing experience, you're still going to be left empty. Because, man, yeah, it's cool. The racing part of it's good, but what else is there? And I'm just jumping in cars week after week, racing, but it doesn't feel like you're building a career. That's why paint booths is important. And we've had paint booths in almost every single NASCAR game that's ever been. Okay? At least every important NASCAR game. Now we're in the PS4, Xbox One era. We have much better hardware, much better technology. And much more experience as far as the game development community, and you can't have a paint booth. You couldn't. And then, all right, they're saying we didn't have time and we didn't want to rush it. Well, then isn't that an admission that you kind of rushed this game a little bit? I want this game today. Don't get me wrong. But if you didn't have time to do these things that I consider vital and mandatory to any NASCAR game and sports games in general, these things are necessary. You didn't have time enough to do that, then how good can this game really be? And if you're just saying, oh, don't knock it till you actually play it, you're making a lot of assumptions. Yeah, I'm kind of making assumptions, but I'm doing it, I think, based on logic and past experience. And some things just don't pass the smell test. Some things don't sound right. There are red flags. And you either choose to ignore it and bury your head in the sand and say, oh, this is going to be the greatest thing, just like we all did. Every year, Technics came out with a new game, and they made all these promises, improved the AI. The AI was the same every year. It was atrocious. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'm expecting as far as the AI. Okay? Since everybody says all that matters is the AI, and I agree, that's the most important part of the game. But if we don't get these things addressed, then when are we going to stop making excuses for game developers in general? And I like the attitude of DMI. I'm not attacking them personally. I'm sure their heart's in it. Okay? And I'm not comparing them to your Technics. But when I look at everything we're seeing so far, and everything we've experienced as just being part of the gaming community in the past 15, 20 years. How many times have we seen promises from big developers and you get the game and it's nothing like it was advertised to be? You can't believe these guys anymore. You got to kind of say, show me. Show me exactly what we're getting. And part of marketing hype now is lying about stuff that you know isn't going to be the actual product. Game developers do this a lot. Very few reputable developers out there who are honest, or at least don't go overboard with the marketing. Okay, so let's talk about the AI real quick and what made all the Technics games horrible, and what I'm expecting DMI to do better, or at least really nail it, since we're not getting Paint Booth or any of these other things. Okay? And if the racing is all that matters, this stuff better be on spot on, I should say. The AI is the most important part of the actual racing. How they race against you and how they behave around each other is paramount to a great racing experience. Okay? Let's talk about the awareness real quick. Well, the awareness in all the Technics games is zero. They had zero sense of awareness of anything going on around them, and more importantly, you as the driver. They acted as if you weren't anywhere near them. They would brake check you into corners, like slam on the brakes where you ram into them from behind, or if you were coming into the corner, they would dive bomb you when there was no room, and they would knock you out. That happened so many times. It was a game-breaking experience. Okay? And anybody that played those games knows what I'm talking about. So the awareness is zero. They need to know where you are at all times and have a better sense of space, where they don't try to make a move where the car doesn't fit and they just ram you out of the way like you don't even exist. Or brake check you when you're right on them for no reason. They would just brake check when there was nobody else around them, or it's not like they got loose and kind of wiggled. They would just brake check. So the awareness that better be addressed. I don't want to see that in any of DMI's games. Then you have the pit strategy, which was atrocious. I never saw anything like it. And how this game made it to the public with passing quality control in this condition is criminal to me. The pit strategy was awful. They would almost always choose to pit under green even after a caution. When a caution comes out, 90% of the time, most cars, they come in and do their pit stop. What the Eutechnics games, what they would do, the cars mostly would stay out under a caution. You come in, then on the green flag, on a restart, these cars would pit a couple of laps later, the under green, that makes no sense. It's asinine. Anybody with any knowledge of the way NASCAR works knows that's a game-breaking bug. Not a bug, it's actually the way they programmed it, which is ridiculous. They never changed it, they never fixed it. So the pit strategy is atrocious, okay? And you would pit, even when you pitted with all the cars, somehow you would always end up in the back of the pack, no matter what. On the way that the sequencing of where you were in the pack during a caution, you could be running third, and all of a sudden there was a caution. And then when you're deciding when to pit and you're still in the caution, now you're all the way in the back. How'd you lose all these spots? It doesn't make any sense. So the pit strategy, the AI awareness, that better be spot on. Then the way that the AI races under a green flag condition, just right off the start. It's like Eutechnics programmed every single track the same as Daytona and Talladega. Everything was programmed to have the racing be pack racing, as if you're at a restricted track race. And it's ridiculous. You're at Atlanta, Lowe's Motor Speedway, any of these tracks, Dover, and these cars would stay in a pack 20 laps into a run, and they're just all in a pack, and everybody's drafting. That's ridiculous. It's like Eutechnics only understood one thing: let's get the pack racing, the restricted plate track at the restricted plate tracks. Let's get that right, and then we'll just use that same coding and programming for every track. And it was awful. After a few laps, these cars have to spread out and break apart. You have no room to even race. How can you make passes? And then the other thing, not only are they in a pack, they're racing 3-4 wide at most tracks. Tracks you never see guys go 3 wide. These guys are going 4 wide. It's the most ridiculous programming I've ever seen for any NASCAR game. The Eutechnics versions were atrocious. So, if, like everyone says, that's all that matters, well, you know what? DMI, I'm expecting this to be knocked out of the park, because you're not giving us any of the other things. So, at least the racing, it better be good. And I am concerned about this idea of where the AI adjusts to your level of experience, or how good of a driver you are. That sounds to me like a rubber banding effect, and to me it doesn't. That's not something that feels like a realistic experience. And I remember when DMI first announced that they were going to make NASCAR games, I kind of remember them talking about that they were going to try to lean towards the simulator side of things. Not that these games are going to be a full-on simulator experience. I don't expect that out of a console, and that's okay. But it's sounding more and more like it's more going to be sort of an arcadey type of experience. The racing is supposed to be, the driving is supposed to be slightly easier for the driver, and this rubber banding type of adjusting AI, it's sort of to make the experience a little more artificial and a little easier for casual fans. And this is the mistake that these developers, in my mind, are making. the biggest audience for this game that's going to go out and buy this game is our hardcore NASCAR fans. We're the ones who've been dying for a NASCAR game. The casual guys who don't really follow NASCAR, they're not going to make up the bulk of your audience, of your consumer base. The guys that are going to run out day one like me and buy this game, who are looking forward to it, are hardcore NASCAR fans. Why would you not make this game geared a little more towards making it more of a simulator experience? Again, maybe I might be wrong about that. Maybe once you sit and actually play the game, it won't be so arcadey. But like I said, I'm just taking the information that has been released by DMI, and I'm making logical, calculated assumptions. So you can say all you want, oh, why are you making assumptions, and why are you being so negative, and why don't you wait and see the game first? Some things just don't sound right. And I already know we're not getting a paint booth. I'm already expecting a slimmed down version of the sport of NASCAR. It's trimmed down. So how immersive can it really be? How good can the career mode actually be when you're missing all these things? Again, it's going to be like just jumping into the car of your favorite driver and racing a season and whatever. You're not going to feel as invested. You're not going to feel as much as a part of the sport of NASCAR and everything that goes with it. So, again, I hope that the next time I make a video, it's going to be about how great this game races, how fun it is to race. I really want to say these things. So, as negative as I am being, I'm trying to be fair. And I think I am being fair. I don't think it's unfair to question all these things. Okay? Based on past experience. And remember, these guys, although they have that pedigree, they haven't made a NASCAR game in almost 15 years. Why are we so willing to just give them all the benefit of the doubt and say, hey, this could very well be a great game. Why are we complaining about these? No, we're consumers. We're spending our hard-earned money on these games. Since when did it become acceptable to get half a product? And this is the problem I have with the consumers and the gaming industry. We're making excuses for game developers. They're not making this stuff for free. And NASCAR is a sport, and it should be treated as a sport. And as a sport, just like all the other sports games, it should be a very immersive, deep experience as far as career mode. Multiplayer is important, but you know what? At the end of the day, multiplayer is always going to be a crapshoot. You're racing against people online. People are just going to drive the way they want to drive. It's important, but to me, what the driving force of a NASCAR game is always going to be the career mode. You're racing 42 other cars, or 39 other cars, if they go like the way the Sprint Cup is now. And that's closer to the actual NASCAR experience than racing online. So career mode is important to me. And if you've seen any of my other videos bashing Technics, I go very deep into all the things of why the career mode is so vital and important. And if you want to know how a great sports game is made for a console, just look at NBA 2K, any of their games. The career mode is the driving force of those games. So I'm going to leave it at that, and I hope you guys have a better understanding maybe of why I feel the way I feel. And if you still disagree, that's fine, but believe me, these things do matter. And you're going to know, once you get into this game and you play it, then you know what? It's just, you're going to feel something missing. So I hope that the racing and the AI is spot on. Because if that's a mess, this is going to be a big problem. And we have to stop this thing about they'll get it right the next time. You're paying $60 for these games. you shouldn't be a guinea pig for these companies. And then it's like, okay, here, we're giving you half the experience you used to get 15 years ago on older consoles. But the next game that comes out, we'll think about adding this stuff. And you're just, every year, going to go buy the next game, the next. We did that with Technics. And every year, it was like, I don't see a big improvement. So, you feel ripped off. At some time, we got to stop making excuses for developers. So I'm rooting for these guys. So let's see what happens, and I look forward to your comments. Thanks.